Cosplay Sanctuary on YouTube. This is your host, Scotty B. Be sure to like the video. If you like it, give us a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more content coming to you every week, usually on Fridays. And certainly if you have any comments, please leave them in the comment section below. If you want to find us on YouTube, well, if you want to find us on social media, you can, and that'll be in the show notes. And of course, with me this week again is the very talented, astonishing, amazing, all new, all different Astravoid Cosplay. Hello.
Hello, hello. I have a friend this time. I decided to bring him with us. The child.
Yeah, I think I still call him Baby Yoda. I think everyone else has started calling him Grogu.
Yes, Grogu.
Grogu. And
yes, as you can see, I'm a massive fan.
Very represented on the show. And
we love him. He's our little mascot.
Before we get into the serious stuff that we're going to talk to today, should we spend a little time talking about I know that this is probably in the rearview mirror at this point, but Mandalorian. You know what? I think what I'd really like to say is, do you think it's cool that they're going to have a Boba Fett, the book of Boba Fett, or the story about Boba Fett, and that do you think that Mandalorian will reunite with the child in the future, or do you think that will not happen?
I don't know. I don't want to be wrong. I hope so, maybe. I feel like it could go either way, and I feel like depending on how they do it, it could be really good. You know, just because we've had that story arc for 2 seasons now, so it could have gotten really old really fast if they didn't, you know, switch it up. But I'm excited to see where our little Grogu goes, and I feel like either way I'm gonna enjoy it. But you know, I'd like to, because that was a really touching whole thing, that ending. My gosh.
Yeah, and you know, sorry audience, I don't have Disney Plus. So where I usually go to get all of my, and this, I think, if you've ever seen, and you should, All Comics Access does a great job. Joel the Beast McCoy on his YouTube channel, he breaks down all the episodes. He's super nice guy, super cool, and he has like every episode going through all of season 2. He's got tons, and he knows the Star Wars universe upside down and backwards. So yeah. Check him out if you do not know, like me. I went to Joe the Beast McCoy for all my spoilers and like to figure out like what was going on in the show, because I didn't get to watch the whole thing. So yes, this week we are going to cover some sensitive content, folks. So yes. Please, that's why we have Baby Yoda here with us today, because
to make it a little bit easier to digest.
Yes.
He's our friend.
Now, how far we go down this road is really, it's going to be a lot different than the podcast. We talked about action versus activist on the podcast, and you know that went down the road of really more talking about activism and taking action inside of the cosplay community. And really, when you jump onto a cause, or when you know that there's an injustice, like what you end up doing with that. So in this episode, in this YouTube video, we would like to talk about one of those injustices that happens in the cosplay community, and that is when cosplay and consent get confused. So cosplay is not consent, and unfortunately we don't have cons at the moment to go to very often to see the big billboard signs that like go through the 400 different things that you're not supposed to do when you get around a cosplayer who's in costume. I don't have as much experience with this. I'm very sorry, folks, but I do know just from my background. So I taught women's self-defense for many years, and I was a black belt instructor for several years. So I have a very different spin on this. But I think, Astra, you have a lot to say in terms of cosplay is not consent, and some of the things that you've had to deal with online, some of the things that just happen to cosplayers, and I think, you know, primarily with female cosplayers in the space, that they deal with a form of harassment online, they deal with harassment at cons, and at no point is it ever really acceptable, and at no point are they necessarily really putting anything out there to provoke that sort of reaction?
You know, I don't make it too heavy, but I also don't want to, you know, not be serious because it is very serious, especially for me. It's very close to the chest about this topic. So, yeah, it's a thing that is a really big issue, and I feel like it shouldn't be. I feel like it we're almost, you know, we're in like 2021 at this point. You know, it shouldn't be a thing, but it is, and it needs to be talked about because I feel like people get away with a lot of things. Either if it's just because they think that they can, or if it's because people, you know, just don't feel comfortable, which is completely understandable and fair. Um, but yeah, so experiences, stuff that's happened to me. You know, I've had people, and I have a relatively smaller platform compared to like some of the really big people that I look up to and I follow and stuff like that. But even with a smaller platform, it still happens. And I think that that's the thing that people don't really realize and people don't know is that it happens to literally almost everyone. No matter how big or how small you are, it doesn't, that doesn't discriminate, that doesn't matter. It's going to happen either way, which it shouldn't. But to explain, I suppose, you know, I've had people go way too far in comments, in DMs. I've had people try to find my house, try to find my family, my friends. I've had people, because people sometimes like my friends will comment on my stuff, and you know, well, we'll have a little interaction in the comment section, and people see that. They try to message some of my friends to get further with me, I guess, and it's just so inappropriate. It's way too far, and that's like the online side of it. There's, you know, I mean, there's stuff that's way worse. There's stuff in person. Um, there's situations at cons where, I mean, personally, you know, I've been groped, I've been grabbed, I've been like yanked into a picture that I wasn't really prepared for and like touched in places. I mean, you get the occasional person who will be like, "Hey, is it okay if I like put my arm around you?" And it's like, "Yes, thank you for asking." It's nice because it's like that's how it should be, you know. And you know, just because I say yes to a picture, that doesn't mean I say yes to you, like putting your hands all over me in places. And I get that people don't really sometimes know those borders, those boundaries, but it's really bad. And I mean, I can't even begin to tell you like the disgusting messages I get every day that kind of really weigh on you. You know, it really takes a toll on your mental health.
Really, every day?
Yes, every day. I could go, honestly, I could probably go into my Instagram right now and I could go to my request because I have it set so you have to request to message me now. But I could go into my, I think I have 4 right now, but I could go in there and it'll be, "Hey, sexy. Hey, beautiful. Are you single? Do you have a boyfriend? You know, where do you live? Do you like have an OnlyFans? You know, can you send me nudes?" Like, I mean, all kinds of things. I had a guy when I first started with my Jean Grey stuff message me about Dark Phoenix, and he was like, "Can you do pictures where the end scene where she's being choked?" I've had people who request stuff with Black Widow that's like full on bondage, and not that there's anything wrong with stuff like that or at all, but it's the fact that it's like somebody has the audacity to step over that line and over sexualize something that isn't meant to be like that. And I've had so many uncomfortable experiences. I actually did take a break from Instagram for a long time, a little while, for a couple months. Both, I mean, there was a lot of things going on in my life anyway, personally, with family, but at the same time, I just needed a mental break because every day I was getting stuff and it literally was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, and I get positive stuff too, you know, of course, and the support is phenomenal and amazing and it means a lot to me, but like sometimes all it takes is that 1 or 2 and it just makes you feel disgusting. It completely takes away your confidence. I've had times where I will literally shut off my phone before a photo shoot because I know that if I look at the comment section and I see something, it's gonna just ruin me, and it shouldn't be that way. And I've definitely come a long way with that too. I don't let stuff like that bother me as much as it used to when I first started, but that was a little hill that I wasn't expecting to have to get over, that I had to get over, you know. And it's just a matter of people not knowing when enough is too much. And it's sad because a lot of girls go through this. Guys get some of it too, but a lot of girls have this problem. And I mean, I guess I'll talk about this too a little bit. Growing up, I was like very heavily bullied. I was kind of like targeted a lot. I wasn't very popular at all. I was on the bottom of the totem pole. And I mean, like anyone that I went to school with will tell you that knew me would tell you this. I was talked about a lot. I was made fun of a lot. I didn't look anything like I do now. I looked very different back then. One day I'll post pictures and show you guys. But so yeah, I grew up with this mindset like of just conditioning of like I'm not pretty, I'm not good enough, I'm not this, I'm not that. And then I kind of stepped into this world of doing all these things, and all of a sudden there's this flood of attention that I'm not used to, and I don't know how to respond to it. And even now, like especially now after TikTok and everything, I've had people from school message me and be like, "Hey, do you remember me from school? It's so and so." And I'm like, "Yeah, I do. You were so mean to me." But they like they want to date me or they want to be my friend. And it's like, so it's an issue of dealing with like people like that and trying to navigate everything. And I've had a really hard time with it. I know a lot of people have had a really hard time with it. Just drawing that line between people. And it's hard because you don't want to cut off people that really care, like actual fans. I don't like that word, but you know what I mean? Supporters. But it just takes one person to ruin it. And it really, really can weigh on you. Like I've had some friends in the community who literally almost stopped because it just got to the point where the harassment was so much.
Yeah, and
And
that's really terrible too, because these
bad.
are like fairly good. I mean, they're fantastic creators that put a lot of work into what they do, and they're putting it into a space that should be a safe space. Like all age groups use TikTok, all age groups use Instagram, clearly Facebook, and that you really have to like be careful. I can talk about another side of this, but yeah, I don't want you to lose your train of thought just yet, for what you've been talking about.
um, okay. Yeah. So thank you for that actually, because you reminded me of a thing that I wanted to say. So basically, after people tried to find my house, and after people have done the whole thing with my friends and all of that, I've gotten to the point now where I posted this on my Instagram story a little bit ago, but after TikTok became a thing, I had a lot of really close friends, people who were nice to me in school, like commenting on my stuff. They're like saying my name, like, oh, my real name. They're like, oh, so and so, like, this is so amazing. And I know that they meant well, and that means a lot to me, but I have to strictly use Astra for everything online. And I know I joked about it. It did start as like my PlayStation login name, and it did start as like a fun little alias, but it very seriously is like the Peter Parker of what I'm doing. This is my thing. Please don't. If you know me, no, you don't. And it's the way that I keep myself safe and my family safe and everybody safe. So it's just something that helps me sleep at night. Is having that extra layer of. And there are people who do know my name, like Scotty knows my name. Of course, we work together.
Yeah, well, and you'll probably notice that I don't really hide much of my actual name online, and that's because nobody can spell it or pronounce it right. So it's not really that big of a deal.
Nobody cares, but I care. But no, it's definitely become a thing that I'm very aware of. And I used to have like my age and my state where I live in my bios and stuff, but I've kind of taken it out since then because it's bad. It's so bad. And it sucks because like you want to collab with people and you have to know where they go, but it's hard because people want to take advantage of that. So I guess like for me personally, I get really tired of, the are you single questions, the, you know, really sexual stuff just makes me feel sick and gross. And it's like, dude, I'm just doing this for fun. Like, stop. Yeah, even on TikTok, a girl does a dance or a girl. I was just a Starfire, and it was an innocent thing to the song Space Girl, and I was doing, this. And I had someone comment, they're like, I'm a boy, put clothes on. And I was like, what? Like, what is that? What? I was literally taken aback. I was like, this has to be a joke, right? Like, people don't actually think like this, right? It's just, I mean, and even if I am dancing however I want, it shouldn't matter. That's the point. It should not matter. I'm not trying to go soapboxy, but it just, it sucks that, you know, creators are becoming limited in what we do, because if I show too much skin in a cosplay, or if I do a movement that's too much, suddenly everybody looks at me differently. And you know, I think I mentioned this before in another episode, but like one of my things was that I for this year was that I wanted to do more mature cosplays. I wanted to be able to step into the characters that I love, that I'm passionate about, and feel confident and safe in doing that. And I've never understood this, but for some reason, there's like, if you cross a line, a certain line, in terms of like cosplays and showing skin or doing whatever, you can't go back for some reason. It's like everybody looks at you completely differently. And it's gross because, you know, I'm sitting here in a cosplay. That doesn't mean that I said this before. I'm trying to word it better. I'm sorry, but you know, I could be eating food in a cosplay. That's not me asking for any attention. That's me eating food at a con in a cosplay, you know. And it's like people take that and they run with it and they sexualize it. I've had people literally do that. I've had people come up to me while I'm eating, and it's like, what? Like it's literally a thing where I can't even talk, because I just kind of sit there and I'm like, this cannot be a real thing that's going on right now. But yeah, it's a real problem. And the best advice that I could give anybody ever, is, you know, on the other side of it, like if you're approaching a cosplay, we want you to take pictures. That's the thing. That's why we do this. Like, we want you to geek out with us. We want to talk to you. So please do that. But just remember, like, we are people. We are people. We have families. We have lives, just like everybody else. And the best advice I can give you, just ask. Just be like, hey, is it okay if I do this? Is it okay if I do that? The worst we can say is no. Like that. And honestly, we'll probably forget in the next 5 minutes that we said no to you. Not in a mean way, but like that will go away versus, you know, you touching us. We're going to remember that for a long time. You know, it's better to just ask and be told no versus do something that goes too far and scars someone, and ruins that for them. So just ask, make clear distinctions about what's okay and what isn't, especially in like if you're collabing with someone with photo shoots, or if you're making a fan film, you know, having that clear line of this is okay and this isn't okay and this is what we're going to do. And you know, it's really, really important. So communication, I think, is the takeaway, is communication, and not being so arrogant and assuming that, you know, you have a right to touch someone. That's not a thing. Like, I'm not trying to be all, you know, but I will say very firmly that nobody has a right to touch anybody else ever. So if you think that that's you because you have X amount of followers, or because, you know, you're a guy and you think that's okay, it's not. And I'm here to tell you that it's not. So, you know, just try to be a decent person. We're all people. Just try to do our thing. And, you know, don't do anything to someone that you wouldn't do to Grogu.
Yeah,
That's
well,
my takeaway.
and if you've seen Cosplay Chris's episode with
Takeaway.
Grogu, yes, don't, yeah, it's a little awkward to see him without his little robot. So yeah, just leave poor little Grogu alone. And
Leave him alone.
one thing that I would like to mention is, you know, there is a group of people, maybe not, maybe a group isn't the best way to put it, but there are cosplayers who really do want to look out for people at
Yeah.
conventions, that they'll put in their stories, especially when they're at con. They'll say, you know, if you feel uncomfortable with this, that, and the other, you know, find us and, you know, let us know what's going on. So there's two sides to that. Um,
Yeah.
I don't necessarily, I mean, the thing that I would say is, like, if you need to find me at a con, let's go and find someone who isn't just a regular person. Let's go find like law enforcement. If you really feel that this is like a big deal, you know, I don't, like, you don't want to put yourself necessarily in also an awkward situation, just
Right.
and I'm going to use a really ridiculous term here, a private citizen. Okay, so having taught this and having learned, like having gone through bodyguard training at a certain point in my life, there's a fine line, like, and the one thing that I think that there's a little bit of chivalry involved with this. That's kind of the other side of this, is that there's kind of like these evil people that exist at cons, and they're kind of lurkers, and then you have these lurkers online, and people who kind of chase after a certain demographic of cosplayers. But then you have another demographic that really wants to like champion and save the damsel in distress, so to speak, and that can be just as dangerous. So
Yes.
just be really careful. Like they're not necessarily asking for that either. So it's an awkward situation. You want to be helpful, like you want to be known as the guy or the girl who like comes to the rescue, but understand what you're signing up for when you do things like that. And really the idea is to raise the awareness and like know the difference like between just somebody like randomly trolling and somebody who is just getting into some behavior that's really not at all appropriate to go with. Like you don't talk to strangers in a certain tone. Like you don't talk to them like you know them. And
No.
in a digital world, I think we feel like we know people before we really know people. We
Yeah,
Right?
jumping on that actually is really important. I'm glad you brought that up, the thing before. Yeah, the difference between, you know, like jumping in to help someone and saving someone as a hero complex is your intention, I think. Because if your intention is very pure and it's like a thing of like, hey, come talk to me, strike up a conversation. Like if you're uncomfortable, I'll just talk to you. There is strength in numbers, that's true. So like, yeah, that's if you have an innocent, genuine intention of just like, I'll be your friend, like we can just walk around, we can go here, there, we can like, get food, that's just great. But if your thing is like, you go to your friend like, hey, record me doing this, like to get clout, or if it's with ulterior motives of like, oh, I'm going to save this girl and she's going to like me, sort of thing. Had that happen, it's gross. That's not going to work, I promise. And if anything, you're going to look like an idiot. Like it's just not good. So that's the big difference between those two things, is like your intention and your motive, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So just
and
decent
yeah,
personality.
definitely that. And just when it gets to the point of like physical confrontation with someone,
Yes.
that they want to like physically do something to this person who's after you, like that's just as bad.
That's not, violence is never the answer. That's not it. The best thing that you can do, truly, honestly, the best thing I ever had someone do was just a girl started talking to me as if she knew me. She was just like, oh hey, like I've seen you, like just conversation, literally took her back and basically put herself between me and the person, not in a confrontational way, but in a way that was like, you know, shutting it down. And then after that, the person got the hint, and we both walked away together so they could see that we were safe. And from there, I thanked her. We talked. We actually ended up becoming friends. We talk to this day online. But yeah, it's one of the situations where it's like there are things you can do. The best thing you can do is to get the person out of the situation, is to leave the area. Because most of the time they won't follow you, and if they do, that's when you need to find security,
Mhm.
or someone that's there that can have authority in that. But like if you're trying to help, the best thing you can do is to talk to the person being harassed and just get them out. Because I can promise you, being in that position, the only thing I want is to leave. I want to get out. So that's the number one thing. And usually there's a feeling of embarrassment that goes with it, a feeling of I don't want to be seen. I don't want this to be like a thing. At least for me it is. And I don't want to cause a scene. So trying to be confrontational and fight and have that sort of chivalry really is the opposite of what people would want or need to have happen in those situations, because it draws more eyes, it draws more attention, which is the thing that we're trying to avoid, and it gives the person who is harassing more power in a way, because it's what they want. So the best thing is to just remove.
I agree with that. That's something that you teach. whether it's in martial arts or whether it's in just self-defense, that the best approach is to find the exit and yeah, remove yourself from the situation before it escalates to what we would call the point of no return, which is not a place you want to be, especially if you're not trained in what that all amounts to. That kind of like beyond the, you really you really don't want to be there. It's all like just kind of a bad place to be in the first place. The whole idea of consent, like it really does just spiral out of control very quickly.
Yeah.
So be respectful. That's the easiest thing that you can do inside of cosplay. If you're going to leave comments, 4 words or more on Instagram, please. And if you're going to help other people in their space and promote them and be their friend, coach, mentor, or cheerleader, as stealing words from Chris Hogan, that you do it in a way that isn't like ulterior. Like there's nothing necessarily besides just good things for that person underneath it, and that you're not like trying to get to that point where they're, like you're manufacturing the drama
Right,
of
or
what's
like
going
as if there's something in it for you, you know?
Whew, okay, so if we'll breathe in and whew, that was that was a lot. Thank you very much for sharing all of those, for sharing the stories and for sharing all of your experiences with the issues that you've had online. I know it's not always an easy thing to talk about. It's not something that many people do talk about. Sometimes you find out often that people struggled with this or they've had these problems, and because they've just never said anything. And so it's actually a little bit more widespread than we think, just because a lot of people don't talk about it. And it can be very uncomfortable. And like I've always said on the show, this is a safe space for cosplayers to share their stories, their their opinions, their skills, their talents, their abilities, everything. And that we don't we're here to just shed light on the overall picture, not necessarily calling out one person or another person, or saying that this is 100% the way that you should respond and react to any situation that comes up.
Right.
So it is the I guess the point to leave on for the show is really just what we talked about. And if you do have anything that you'd like to share with us, or if there's anything that you do feel strong about, feel free to leave us a comment. Of course, there are better spaces that we can suggest for you in the show notes. The spaces where if you're really looking for people to talk to. Certainly, I'm not a professional, so I can't offer you the kind of help that you may need for things like that. And really that's on both sides. There can be some issues going on, certainly for people who've experienced it and for people who are actually involved with the other side of it. And nothing that we ever really want to see happen, but it does, unfortunately.
Yeah. It's definitely, I mean, and there's stuff that's happened that I haven't talked about, obviously, of course, but yeah, it's a very wide spectrum and it can really take a toll on you. So if you do need to talk to someone, please do. And, if, there's a story or something that you want to talk about, or maybe there's something you're related to, feel free to shoot me a DM or anything like that. I can't promise I can help you, but I can promise that I'll listen. And yeah, it's definitely a thing that needs to be talked about, but also it needs to be talked about with the respect to the people who have gone through it. So it's in a sense of like, if you feel comfortable to, absolutely talk to who will listen, but you should never, ever, ever, no matter what, feel pressured to talk about something. So it's all on your own time and it's all on how you feel. So yeah, just remember to be kind to everybody, everywhere, because you never know what someone's going through. And yeah, hug your baby Grogu. Love him.
Hug your baby Grogu.
Hug
Absolutely.
him. Love him. He deserves it. Make sure he's okay with it though, but he loves it. I love you.
All right, with that, Astrovoid, would you like to send us on our way at the end of the show?
I will. So thank you guys so much for watching. I know that was a bit heavier this time, but it was definitely something that needed to be talked about. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for being here. If you would like to hear more, always check out the podcast, and all of our socials will be down below. You can find them as always. So yes, this has been the Heroes of Cosplay Sanctuary on YouTube with me, Astravoid Cosplay, and our best friend, little baby Grogu. And we will see you guys next time.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.